The warning. The conclave chamber shimmered with pale green light, its vaulted ceiling lined with crystalline panels that pulsed like a heartbeat. Representatives of a dozen alien empires filled the chamber, their voices weaving into a discordant storm. Some hissed, others clicked their mandibles, some pulsed light across their translucent skin. But every voice carried the same note of arrogance. They were speaking of Earth. "The humans expand without restraint," growled Rekther, a Krell warlord whose scales glistened like molten iron. "They multiply like spores, spreading into systems we claimed centuries ago. They must be cut down before they threaten the order of the stars." Around him, voices of agreement rose like a tide. "They are divided and primitive. They still burn chemical fuel. They war among themselves even now. They will not withstand a united fleet." The chamber vibrated with laughter, a grating, smug laughter. Only one figure did not join in. Varith stood near the outer circle, a frail elder of the Ascari, his body wrapped in threadbare robes that smelled faintly of scorched metal. His eyes, clouded with milky cataracts, stared at the floor as if the words being spoken were ghosts clawing their way from the past. Finally, when the chamber settled into the rhythm of decision, Varith spoke. His voice rasped like sand dragged across stone. "You fools! You speak as though the humans are prey. But I have seen prey. I have hunted prey. They are not prey." A silence rippled outward. It was rare for an elder to interrupt the conclave. Rekther turned, baring teeth. "What have you seen, old one?" "They are soft-skinned, brittle-boned. A species that has barely learned to crawl among the stars. Speak your memory, if you dare." Varith raised his head. His voice did not rise in anger, it fell heavy with memory. "A century ago, my people encountered them first. A survey flotilla, 4 warships, hardened with plasma lances. We cornered a single human freighter, its crew less than 50. We offered them the choice of surrender. They did not fire a shot." He paused, breath shaking. "They spoke to us, not in rage, but with something colder. They told us that if we wanted their ship, we could take it. And then they detonated the vessel, themselves with it, and our fleet with them. Not one survivor. Do you understand? They chose death, not to deny us victory, but to deny us escape." Gasps and growls broke out, disbelief mingled with unease. "Exaggeration," muttered one delegate. "A myth to frighten hatchlings." But others shifted uncomfortably. Varith leaned forward, his voice a whisper sharp as a blade. "You think humans fight for survival. They do not. They fight for memory. For vengeance. They are creatures who carry grudges across generations, who teach their children the names of enemies. If you strike them, they will not rest until you are hunted through every shadow of the stars. You will not flee them. You will never escape them." The words lingered like a toxin in the chamber's air. For a moment, even Rekther's arrogance faltered. But he quickly found his scorn. "Old stories. One ship. One act of desperation. That is not war." His voice rose to rally the wavering. "This is a chance to prove strength. The humans are fractured, fragile. They lack unity. Their numbers mean nothing. A united Krell fleet will crush them before they lift a claw." Cheers echoed in the chamber, washing over Varith's warning like a flood drowning a stone. Still, the elder stood unmoved. His eyes closed, as though he already mourned what was to come. "You will not crush them," he whispered. "You will teach them to unite. And when they are united, not a single Krell will leave this war alive." The conclave ignored him. The vote was cast. The banners of war unfurled. And across the cold stretch of stars, the Krell Dominion's armadas stirred, engines igniting, weapons charging, warriors roaring. To them, it was the beginning of a glorious campaign. To Varith, it was the beginning of extinction. First contact war. The Krell armada crossed into human space with banners blazing and war drums echoing through their ships. They expected swift conquest, the kind that left a species trembling and broken before the first week of battle. Instead, they found fire. The first colony world, Helios 4, was scarcely defended, a scattering of mining facilities, a modest orbital station, and a few militia corvettes. Commander THRYSS of the Krell expected surrender within the hour. His warships descended like predators, plasma lances cutting the orbital station in half. Escape pods scattered into the void. Victory seemed certain. But then, the humans turned the rubble into weapons. Guided by desperate hands, half-destroyed freighters rammed Krell warships. Detonations shuddered through their hulls as fuel tanks ignited. Miners sealed themselves into cargo tugs and hurled asteroids, not caring if they lived or died. By the time the Krell secured orbit, 3 of their destroyers were gone, 2 more limped with cracked engines, and Helios 4's surface was a blaze of guerrilla fire. THRYSS had expected fear. Instead, he found defiance. "They die without hesitation," one of his lieutenants muttered, voice low with unease. "They die stupidly," Taras growled, though even he felt the knot in his gut. Do not mistake desperation for strength. Yet as the weeks stretched on, the pattern repeated. On Triton's Reach, human defenders sabotaged their own water refineries, denying the invaders supplies. On Bastion, 12, captured soldiers smuggled explosives into Krell barracks, reducing a garrison to ash. Even unarmed civilians proved dangerous. They lured patrols into narrow canyons, detonating charges that buried both hunter and hunted in molten rock. Everywhere, humans refused to play by the rules of war. The Krell, steeped in tradition, found it infuriating. They fought in formation, rigid and disciplined. They measured battles in honor, retreat, regroup, and advance. The humans had no such boundaries. They fought in whispers and traps. They fought with knives in the dark. They fought with laughter on their lips as they rammed ships 3 times their size. And when captured, they fought still. Reports filtered through Krell Command, prisoners who strangled guards with bare hands, engineers who sabotaged engines from inside, medics who poisoned food supplies. No prison ship remained safe. It was not only the deadliness of humans that unnerved THRYSS. It was their persistence. Every message broadcast from their colonies carried the same words, a phrase that spread like a curse. "We remember every name, every ship, every life. You will not leave alive." The broadcasts were not threats of victory, but promises of vengeance. Promises that time itself would not erode. Morale among the Krell began to crack. Some soldiers whispered of ancient stories, of prey that turned predator, of the Askari elders' warning. THRYSS silenced such talk with executions, but he could not silence the fear. The humans had begun to change. Nations that once quarreled over resources now spoke with one voice. A united fleet emerged, forged from scraps of every culture on Earth, sleek cruisers flying beside refitted relics, stealth corvettes hunting alongside lumbering carriers. Where the Krell saw chaos, the humans saw opportunity. They adapted. A failed strategy one day became a perfected trap the next. They learned the Krell formations, dissected them, and rebuilt their own responses. No tactic worked twice. THRYSS himself led a blockade against Earth, seeking to cut off the human heart. His fleet shadowed the pale blue world, its cities glittering in defiance. He waited for surrender. But surrender never came. Instead, human fleets struck from every angle. Bases hidden on moons ignited railguns that shredded Krell escorts. Drone swarms, released from disguised cargo ships, chewed through supply lines. Even abandoned stations became weapons, their husks fitted with warheads that detonated as Krell ships approached. For every ship the Krell destroyed, they lost 2. For every victory claimed, humans made it hollow. And slowly, inevitably, the Krell realized the truth. This was no war of conquest. This was a trap with no exit. The trap. Commander THRYSS stared at the star map, claws tapping against the display. Human fleets flickered in and out of existence across the screen, never staying long enough to strike, never retreating far enough to escape. It was a game of smoke and mirrors, and it was driving him mad. "These vermin are stretched thin," his second-in-command growled. "They scatter their fleets into fragments. If we strike swiftly, we can corner them and end this farce." Narrowed his eyes. The humans were not scattering, they were luring. But his crew's morale was cracking, and he needed a decisive victory. Then came the intelligence report, a fractured Earth fleet retreating into the asteroid belt of Urion Prime, its warships damaged and fleeing. At last, a chance. "Signal the armada," Terroesis ordered. "We end them here." The Krell fleet surged into the belt, engines burning bright, weapons primed. Jagged rocks drifted across the void, some as small as fists, others mountains tumbling silently through darkness. To Techarwas, it was perfect hunting ground, cornered prey, nowhere to run. The first human ships appeared, limping freighters and battered corvettes scattering deeper into the field. Krell destroyers gave chase, spears of plasma cutting down stragglers. Terroesis allowed himself the taste of triumph. But then, the asteroids began to move. From within the drifting rocks, hidden thrusters ignited. Entire fields of stone shifted course, guided not by gravity, but by human hands. The belt became a cage, walls closing in on the invaders. Contact. Multiple signatures. The warning came too late. Railguns hidden inside hollowed asteroids lit up the void. Kinetic rounds, invisible until impact, punched through Krell hulls with merciless precision. One destroyer split in half, venting fire and screams into the vacuum. Human ships emerged from the shadows, not the broken remnants of a retreat, but a fleet waiting for the kill. Sleek corvettes darted between rocks, frigates firing salvos and vanishing again, carriers disgorging swarms of drones that darted like hornets. The Krell found themselves surrounded. "Form ranks!" Thrys roared. "Cut through their center!" But there was no center, only traps. Every path forward led to detonations. Nuclear mines, disguised as drifting stone, ripped holes in the Krell formations. Plasma lances fired wildly, carving into asteroids but striking nothing living. For every human ship destroyed, 3 more appeared from the dark. The battlefield became chaos. Thrys's flagship shuddered under impact as a human freighter rammed into its flank, erupting in fire. The crew staggered, alarms shrieking. Hers gripped the railing, fury burning hotter than fear. "Cowards!" he spat. "They do not fight honorably." But in the quiet of his mind, a voice whispered the words of the Askari elder. "They do not fight for honor. They fight for memory." Across the fleet, Krell captains begged for orders. Some tried to retreat, activating their FTL drives, only to discover they would not engage. Sabotage. Human infiltrators had struck long before this battle began, corrupting navigational data and planting viruses in Krell systems. The trap had not been sprung here. It had been woven long before the fleet even arrived. Panic spread. Ships collided in desperate maneuvers, their once disciplined formations collapsing into disarray. In the center of it all, the human fleet pressed tighter, relentless, merciless. Every Krell scream over comms was met with silence, every plea drowned in static. Humans did not answer. Humans did not bargain. They hunted. Terra stood on the bridge, eyes burning as the battle slipped away. His second-in-command approached, trembling. "Commander, we cannot escape. They will not let us flee." The words echoed like prophecy fulfilled. Terrorist looked out the viewport, at the swarm of human ships advancing through the belt, and for the first time, he understood. This was not a battle. This was an execution. The humans had been underestimated, mocked, dismissed. But here, in the shadowed rocks of Urion Prime, they revealed their truth. They were predators wearing the mask of prey. And the Krell would never leave this place alive. The Reckoning. Silence hung over the wreckage of the asteroid belt. Shattered Krell warships drifted among tumbling stone, their broken hulls still glowing with the heat of impact. Escape pods floated like seeds scattered by a dying tree, but few still carried life. The humans moved among them methodically, salvaging, securing, never letting a single survivor slip away unnoticed. On the bridge of his crippled flagship, Commander Terrorus stood stiff and motionless. Fires burned in the corridors behind him, the stink of scorched metal and blood heavy in the air. His crew, what remained of them, waited for orders that would never come. He had no orders left to give. The battle was lost. Worse than lost. It had been a trap, a lesson carved into the flesh of his people. The words of the Askari elder told in his mind like a funeral bell, "If you strike them, you will never flee." The view screen flickered. A human face appeared, scarred, pale, eyes hard as stone. A fleet commander, though which nation they hailed from no longer mattered. They spoke not as a divided people, but as one. "This war is over, Commander Terrorus," the human said, voice calm and cold. "Your fleet is gone. Your empire has bled itself dry. Surrender." Oz bared his teeth. "Kill me, then. But know this, you are not conquerors. You are butchers." The human did not flinch. "No. We are survivors. You came to burn our worlds, to erase us from history. You failed. And now you will carry our memory with you until the end of your kind." The transmission ended. Across the belt, human ships tightened their net. Escape pods were seized, surviving Krell corvettes boarded. No ships were allowed to retreat into the dark. Every fragment of the Krell fleet was either destroyed or captured. The humans did not kill them all, not yet. Those who survived were shackled and ferried to prison hulks, vast carriers reconfigured as cages. The message was clear: the Krell would not die quickly. They would live with defeat branded into their bones. THRYSS was among the last to be taken. Shackled, stripped of rank, he was marched through the ruined corridors of his ship. He tried to hold his head high, but inside, he felt the weight of history crushing him. He had not just lost a battle, he had fulfilled a prophecy. Days later, in orbit above Earth, a message was broadcast to the stars. It was transmitted in every known language, every code, every frequency. No species in the galaxy could miss it. The human voice was calm, resolute, unyielding. "To all who watch, we are not seekers of conquest. We are not slavers, nor tyrants. But if you come to kill us, know this truth: we will not stop. We will not forgive. We will hunt you until none of you remain. There will be no escape, not for you, not for your descendants. We are humanity. We endure." The declaration spread like fire through the galactic networks. Some species, long neutral, recoiled in fear. Others whispered in awe, realizing that the humans were no longer a fractured race of primitives. They had become something far greater, a force that remembered, a force that could not be broken. Varith, the elder who had warned them all, stood aboard a human vessel as the broadcast ended. He had been taken by the humans, not as prisoner, but as witness. They treated him with respect, for he alone had spoken truth. He looked at the human commander beside him, then out at the stars. His voice was soft, but steady. "The galaxy will remember this day," he said. "It should remember well. Humanity does not simply survive. Humanity endures. And it ensures that none who strike them will ever escape the weight of what they tried to do." The commander gave no reply. They did not need to. Outside, the wreckage of the Krell fleet turned slowly in the dark, silent monuments to the folly of those who thought humans weak. Commander Taras, now bound in a cell, closed his eyes. For the first time, he understood. The humans had not fought merely for victory. They had fought to carve their memory into the galaxy itself. And the galaxy would never forget.